HogvilleNET YouTube Live. It's my post-game show. The Arkansas Razorbacks took care of business tonight. This was critical business. This was the kind of must-not-lose business that you had to have if you were the Arkansas Razorbacks in terms of now your postseason livelihood, your chance to make it to the NCAA tournament. 70-58. It was ugly. It was grinding. There was a stretch there where I thought this was a race to the bottom. The Razorbacks trailed by 1 at halftime. Both teams are inept at both ends for long stretches. LSU looked like the hungrier team for a while, but the Razorbacks with a better second half, especially coming down the stretch, probably the last 8 or 9 minutes, Arkansas really pulled away here. There's so many storylines. Big Z's one of them. Arkansas's NCAA tournament resume, the fact that Arkansas took a 10-point lead with about 5 minutes left, between 4 and 5 minutes. That was Arkansas's first double-digit lead against an SEC opponent at Bud Walton Arena this season. The team was 1-4 in league games on its home court. This looked like another situation where Arkansas might find a way to lose on its home court for a while. It just looked that way. A lot of the things that Arkansas had done so well in winning games of late against better competition, they went away from in this game. And you're wondering what's going on here. But the Razorbacks, it's a positive. It ends up a +12 on the scoreboard. You're not going to get a ton of net value out of this, but you had to win it because this would have been a quad 3 loss. That's a bad loss. Quad 3, quad 4 are bad losses, especially at home. Arkansas has avoided that this year. No bad losses in non-conference play. They played 7 teams that still stand as quad 4 results, 3 more in non-conference that stood, or not 3 more. 3 more that stood as quad 2 results, quad 3 results in non-conference. And this is the only quad 3 or worse. It was quad 3 LSU just outside the top 75 in net. So it's a quad 3. It's the only one Arkansas has played and likely will play that would be considered an opportunity for a bad loss in 18 league games once we get there. This was the 11th league game. Arkansas improves to 15-9 overall, 4-7 in the SEC. Guess what? A couple of weeks ago, Arkansas was 1-6 in the league. Stood alone in 15th place in the 16-team league. Only South Carolina winless, still winless now, was worse. Arkansas now has moved from 15th place up to 11th. That's significant. The Hogs are ahead now of Oklahoma, who was getting throttled at Missouri. I forgot to check that score right before I came on. I'm assuming Missouri won. If Oklahoma made a comeback, I'm wrong about that statement. But if Missouri won, Arkansas now has moved all the way up to 11th place. 1 fewer loss than I believe Texas in league play. OU is also behind Arkansas now. And that obviously goes for South Carolina, LSU, and Georgia. So Arkansas has moved ahead of all those teams. What's significant about that is OU, Texas, and Georgia are all 3 of 5 SEC teams on the bubble. Vanderbilt, who's 1 game ahead of Arkansas, same as Mississippi State, only 1 game ahead of the Hogs right now. But Vanderbilt's on the bubble as well. Vanderbilt, Georgia, OU, and Texas were all either last 4 buys or last 4 in. Arkansas, the first team on the first 4 out, 1 spot away from being a qualifier. So everybody lost when you look at Tuesday and Wednesday results in that group except for Arkansas. This is not going to carry. Arkansas came in at 41 in net today. This won't carry a bounce really in net. I doubt. We'll see if Arkansas even moves a spot. But the thing here is you would have fallen pretty far. You would have been knocked down some notches had you lost this game. It would be your 1 bad loss, which means you've got even more work to do. I've said for a while the magic number is 4 coming into this game, 4 more wins with 8 to go. Well, now you need 3 more, and you only have 7 to go. But had you lost this game, you might have needed more than just 4 more wins because you now have a bad loss. You might have needed at least 2 more quad 1 wins in combination with something else and maybe a win in the SEC tournament. I think now, while again, there's not a lot of boost in this in terms of net, it may not even be enough to push Arkansas into the just getting in group when Lenardi puts his next list out. But the loss would have put Arkansas in real peril. You avoided that. There is not another bad loss. Even South Carolina is still winless in the league. May have an overall losing record at this point. Probably does. It doesn't matter. It's still going to count as a quad 2 road game for Arkansas in March when Arkansas plays on the road. So even if Arkansas were to lose that game, it wouldn't look great, but it would only be a quad 2 loss. So now Arkansas, when you look at this, Arkansas's 3-7 in quad one games. The Hogs are 1-2 in quad two, but they're unbeaten now, 11-0 quad three/quad four. This counts as quad three, so improved to 4-0 in quad three, 7-0 in quad four. That matters because let's talk about Arkansas's resume, and then we're going to talk about this game. Let's just talk resume for a little bit because I didn't like this game other than it was a victory, and there were some things that stood out about it as positives. Big Z among it. Well, mostly. But resume-wise, let's look at Arkansas right now. I mentioned no bad losses. It's very interesting to me. When we look back at those Miami and Michigan games, I remember saying at the time, Arkansas finally won away from home against Miami, a horrible team, but on the road, true road game, the first one of the year. But you lost a couple of games against quality teams in Baylor and Illinois. Your only other two away from home games at that point, in games you never led. You finally got over the hump in the closing minutes and beat Miami. Then you had a home win over whoever that was, Texas, San Antonio. And then you went to New York City and got that big win over Michigan. And that counts as not only a quad one win. Michigan is 17th today in net. They've been top, oscillating between 10 and 20. Leads the Big Ten, by the way, which is a loaded conference. I mean, you could argue the outside of the SEC, it's either the Big 12 or the Big 10 is the next best conference. Either way, they're both strong. Right now, Michigan is ahead of teams like Michigan State, Purdue, teams that have had strong seasons. When you look at it overall, there's some other teams in that. Illinois, the team that beat Arkansas. Michigan's ahead of everybody. So it's not just a quad win. You have a chance for one of your lone quality win out of conference play to be against a league champion, not just a league champion, but the Big Ten champion. We're not there yet, but that's a possibility. The two big road wins, especially Kentucky. Kentucky just coming off a sweep of Tennessee. That is huge. Just yesterday, winning the second game, that one at Rupp Arena. But that win for Arkansas is the best win of the season for more reasons than one. Obviously, Calipari, players, assistant coaches going back. But the fact that you got that second quad one win, what was that, a week or so ago after the only one you had came in early December. And it's when you look at it from a net standpoint, Kentucky's 15 in net, 2 spots ahead of Michigan. There's no matter how you slice it, that's Arkansas's best win. The win over Texas ranked in the mid-30s in net. So that's going to hold up all season long, even if Texas tanks pretty badly, which looks like it's happening to the Longhorns. I don't think they're going to fall out of the top 75 in net. So that's going to stand. They have to fall 40 more spots. I just don't see it. So that's going to stand as a quad one win. Right now, where Texas is in net, the home game, if Arkansas wins, it'll be quad two, but that's all right. So you've got 3 quad one wins. They're all away from home. And why that matters is you have no bad losses. We said that. You're away from home record. 2-3 in true road games in the SEC. That's good. That's better than your home record in the SEC. Now 2-4 after the win over LSU. But 3-3 when you add the Miami game in, and then you add the neutral site with that Michigan win, you're 4-5 away from home. That's going to look really good. Again, one of those wins potentially against a high major conference winner. We'll see if Michigan is able to finish out. Wisconsin's another team. Michigan won on Wisconsin's home floor. That's another ranked team that's up there, in not only the national rankings in terms of AP, but also a top 20 in net. So that Michigan win looks really good. The Kentucky win with all of its other great wins on its schedule. Arkansas going there and winning looks really, really good right now. I mentioned Texas, 3-7 in quad one. The away from home record, the true road record, all of that looks great. The no bad losses also is going to look great. So Arkansas's got a lot going for it right now. It just needs more quality wins. And I think 3 more before you get the SEC tournament likely doesn't. Here's the other thing why this win meant so much tonight. It wouldn't have ended your postseason hopes had you lost this game. It wouldn't be completely over. But it put a lot more pressure on Arkansas at that point with 2 really tough road games coming up against 8th-ranked A&M, a top 15 net team on Saturday, followed by a midweek game on the road against number 1 Auburn, both in AP poll and in the net, another road game in midweek next week. So it put a lot of pressure on Arkansas to maybe be looking at a 3-game losing streak and then needing to win 4 of the last 5 games that it has on the schedule. And that won't be easy for this Arkansas team in any stretch of the season. This is a team, honestly, that's played better away from home than it has at home, including tonight. You get a 12-point win. This is your first double-digit win since you beat Oakland, blew out Oakland in your final non-conference game in late December. You only have one other home win. That was by 3 points after trailing by 15 to Georgia a few weeks ago. Arkansas, again, has won 4 of its last 6, 3 of its last 4. The Alabama game, Arkansas, look at it this way. Arkansas's got 2 close losses at home to both Bama and Oklahoma. Arkansas's a possession or 2 away of making the right play instead of the wrong play from being on a 6-0 run, winning streak, 6-game winning streak after starting 0-5 in league play. No, that they didn't get there. It's not hand grenades or horseshoes. It doesn't count. But then tonight, against this competition, I mean, let's face it, LSU was on a 6-game losing streak. The last time the Tigers had won was against the Hogs, back in January. Started 0-3, beat Arkansas on their home court by 4 points, lost 6 straight, and then they were feeling good, up 1 at halftime. I think they built it to a 3-point lead kind of early in the second half. The teams went back and forth, and this was just a weird game. It was a game where Arkansas's best free throw shooters didn't make free throws. It was a game where Adu Thero had arguably his worst game of the season. I think it probably was. I mean, this guy usually clocks in with his hard hat already on, right? He's not waiting around to go out and play that bully ball blue collar game and be effective and efficient. He was anything but tonight. So we'll get to Big Z now. We're almost 12 minutes in. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNet YouTube Live. I'm Kevin McPherson. This is my postgame. Arkansas beats LSU at home, a must-win for the Hogs, 70-58. Big Z now back-to-back 20-plus point games. They're his first career 20-plus point games, 27 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks and 3 steals in the loss to Bama. Turns around tonight, 25 points. 25 points. He was 10 of 13 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, made both of his free throws, 4 big blocks in this game. So he had 4 blocks at Texas, 3 against Alabama, 4 tonight. So his volume and shot blocking is going up. Here's where he checked up in a bad way. Remember the Texas game? Arkansas had a big lead in that one and held on. 9 points and 12 rebounds. I mentioned the 27-point game against Bama and 7 rebounds. Tonight, only 3 rebounds. And this was a part of Arkansas's problem. As good as he was offensively in blocking shots, he got abused a little bit on that glass. He also had a steal, only 1 turnover. He's turnover prone, but only 1. He played 28 minutes, box score +8 for Big Z. So he scored 52 points in Arkansas's last 2 games. He needed every bit of it because he was really the only guy on offense that looked comfortable all night. Nelly Davis credited with 11 points. I had him with 13. I thought he had a tip in. The official scorekeeper gave DJ Wagner the bucket. DJ drove in and missed the shot, and Nelly tipped it in. So really he had 13 points. Official scorer book has him with 11. We'll see if they correct that. I wasn't up there at Boat Walton Arena. Usually when they get that wrong, I'm the one that speaks up and gets it fixed. Wasn't there tonight to do that. We'll see if they ever change that one. But 36 minutes for Nelly, a team-high box score +16. Very effective while he was out there. He has not shot well. When he shoots well, it's away from Bud Walton. 11, so officially 11 points, 4 of 13 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3, and 3 of 5 at the free throw line. He went 1 of 2 on his first trip and then missed the front end of a 1-and-1. So effectively, in the first half, he was 1 of 3, but it felt like 1 of 4 because you missed a free throw opportunity because he missed the front end of the 1-and-1. It doesn't officially count as an extra missed free throw, but for a 90% free throw shooter, you can't have it. He did knock down 2 late when Arkansas started to pull away and win going away. So 3 of 5 overall from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, but 3 big steals. Now, this is what he's been doing. He was averaging nearly 3.5 steals when Arkansas, before the Bama game. He only had 1 against Bama. Had a bad first half against Bama, remember, offensively, then came on in the second half when Arkansas made a game of it. But only 3 rebounds and 1 steal in that game. Tonight, again, 11 points officially, 3 rebounds, 3 steals. He really had 13 points, but 36 big minutes in that box score +16 that led the Hogs. DJ Wagner, because he was credited with that field goal, I think he had finished with 8, but he officially 10 points, 4 of 8 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, 2 of 2 at the line. 7 assists. So once again, he had a big assist game, 3 turnovers. So, after taking really good care of the ball at Kentucky, he's had, a couple of games here since that one when he had 8 assists and only 1 turnover against the Wildcats, where his turnover numbers are a little higher than you'd like. But 28 minutes for him, that's low for him. He usually plays, 30, 37, 38 minutes. 28 minutes according to the box score, and he had a box score +4. So those are your double-figure scores. I'm going to get to some other Razorbacks in a little bit because I'm going to jump around a little bit to some of the overall themes. I thought Arkansas trailing by 1 at halftime. If you looked at LSU, what the Tigers were doing well was just getting on the offensive glass and extending possessions and getting second chance points. That actually continued into the second half for a while. And then you had just some bizarre things. I mentioned Nelly Davis and his free throw problems. Well, Carter Knox had a great game tonight, but he had an 0 for 2 free throw trip. Well, in this run of games going back to the Georgia win when Arkansas had started 0-5, on volume of free throws, I mean, not like it's a misleading stat, he was shooting over 86% of the foul line to not 0 for 2. So it was stuff like that was contributing to keeping LSU in the game, giving up second chance points, offensive rebounds. Arkansas was losing the turnover battle at halftime. 5-3 was -4 in turnover points off turnovers at halftime, 4-0. -7 in second chance points, 11-4. -4 in points in the paint, 20-16. You just looked across the board. LSU had 3 steals. Arkansas only 1 at halftime. This was an LSU team turning the ball over 14 times a game. And Arkansas only got them to turn it over 3 times in the first half and only got 1 steal. Because of Big Z and his shot blocking party tonight, Arkansas did have a +4 advantage at halftime in blocks, 4-0. But other than that, it was just LSU was winning really most of the hustle plays and finding ways to stay in the game. If you remember the loss, the Tigers shot 26 of 28 from the free throw line at home, over 92%. Tonight, it was just the opposite. LSU was 1 of 4 at halftime at the foul line, finishes 3 of 6, only 6 attempts, 50%. Arkansas, which has been shooting really well at the line of late, not only in volume, but shooting 80, 85, 80+%. Tonight, 10 of 17 for the Hogs, finishing the game. Only 10 of 17 at the line, 58.8%. So you're thankful you took a lot more free throws than LSU, 11 more, and actually shot a better percentage, as bad as that was. Just a weird game. It was one of those games where I felt like Arkansas knew what the stakes were, that it was a must-win, and couldn't rise up to that challenge for the longest time. And you thought, here comes another home game. I mean, remember, the win over Georgia, close win, 3 points. 3-point loss the next game at home to Oklahoma. Those games were both scored in the 60s. Ugly. Then Arkansas goes out and puts an offensive clinic on at Kentucky, of all places, and scores 89 points in a 10-point win. Then you go to Texas and you dictate tempo in both halves and win 78-70. Not quite the pace you had at Kentucky, but still a good pace and a good offensive game for you. Alabama, you fell behind 18 points, turned it on late, 21-6 run, gave yourself a chance to win it in the end after being down 18 with 6.5 minutes left, and you scored 81 points in that game, 85-81. And then tonight, Arkansas was back to feeling like they were just, not throwing good punches, not throwing good counter punches, if you want to relate it to boxing. It was just a grind, ugly. How do you score each round? For a while, it looked like both teams were in a race to the bottom. That's just what it looked like. I mean, Arkansas ended up at halftime, both teams had 6 offensive rebounds. But the reason that LSU was +7 in second chance points, 11-4, at least half of those 6 offensive rebounds, maybe 4 of them, were simply LSU fumbling sure defensive rebounds out of bounds on the baseline. There wasn't even a hog around them competing for the ball. They just couldn't gather, and it would knock it out of bounds. Arkansas would get another chance, couldn't score on that second chance. We were back the other way. So stats can sometimes be misleading. Arkansas didn't do a great job on the offensive glass in the first half. It was just LSU couldn't. I mean, that's a bad team. That's why they're 1-10 now in the SEC. I think they're 12-12 overall. But the good news for Arkansas is the Razorbacks, by winning this game now, have eliminated any possibility in the regular season of having a bad quad loss. Again, quad 4, quad 3 out the window. Arkansas is perfect in those games when you combine it a perfect 11-0. So later in the year, let's go back now. Let's jump back to NCAA tournament resume stuff. Let's say Arkansas finishes with 4 or 5 quad 1 wins. Right now they're at 3. But 3 of those, again, are not only away from home, but 2 of those teams are in the net top 20. They're in the teens, 15 and 17, Kentucky and Michigan, respectively. Texas, 34, 35, they're low 30, 33, they're low 30s right now. So let's say that you're comparing Arkansas's resume with another team that has 4 or 5 quad, same amount, whatever it is, 4 or 5 quad 1 wins at the end. If you dig down in it, if there are some teams that are a team or two that are similar to Arkansas, but there were some of theirs were against teams that were, maybe they picked up a road win against a team that was ranked 70th in net. Well, that's a quad 1 win. When you start looking at it, you're going, well, there's more value in beating some of these higher net rated teams than there are maybe where you got some. It still counts as quad 1, but it's not the same. So I don't think all quad 1 wins are the same. Some are better. And then you start looking at, well, maybe a team has the same, even very similar to the value of your quality of your quad 1s, but they had 1 or 2 bad losses. Arkansas won't have any. So these little things matter. The away from home record, you say, well, net's already kind of figured that in, because obviously your quad, if you beat a team at home, they better be top 30. They better be really good to count as a quad 1. Whereas you can go on the road, and if someone's ranked 74th and you beat them, that's a quad 1. But they've already factored in how difficult it is to play on the road. But again, I say some of these will matter because the committee has always rewarded teams for playing well away from home, and they sometimes will punish you even if you have some quality wins at home if you can't get any away from home. So that's why I think Arkansas's resume is very interesting. They didn't have a lot of quality wins in non-conference play, just 1, but that 1's going to weigh heavy in Michigan. And then the SEC is so good that you have a lot of losses. But I mean, I tweeted this out today. Arkansas has played or will play 13 teams that are currently ranked, 13 different teams that are currently ranked in the net top 30, and a total of 14 games because you play Missouri twice. Missouri's 22nd net. Now they don't have a lot of wins in there. It's right now it's Michigan and Kentucky. Then if you expand it out past the top 30 into the top 35, well, Georgia's 35th and Texas is 33rd. So you've got a quad 2 win over Georgia because Texas was road, but that's even still a good quad 1 win Texas is because of how high they still are in net. No, that wouldn't count as a quad 1 at home, but on the road, it's still a pretty quality quad 1 compared to someone that picks up a Q1 against a team, again, ranked 65, 70, 74. So I'm kind of going on and on about that to explain Arkansas's resume right now. They just need more wins. The losses at this point, if you go and lose 2 in a row this next week, you're going to be 15-11 and then 4-9 in the SEC. And some people are going to say Arkansas's got too much work to do still. I don't think so. You lose the next 2, I think you still need 3 wins. I think that's a magic number. You've got 7 games to do it before you get into SEC tournament play. And let's look ahead. Both of Auburn and A&M are both top 15 ranked. Auburn won, I mentioned that. I think A&M 13th or 12th in net. Both of them ranked in the top 10. Auburn number 1 in AP, A&M number 8. So if you split those games, you're almost, I mean, you'd have to just fall apart if you're Arkansas not to make the NCAA tournament at that point. If you pick up a win in either one of those spots. I think there's pressure off Arkansas right now after winning tonight. They played a little more relaxed and better on the road. They finally got out of the hump at home after, consecutive home losses, really. Oklahoma and Bama sandwiched around those brilliant road wins over Kentucky and Texas. And so I think there'll be pressure off going against A&M. We'll see. A&M's a really good team, a veteran team. The way Arkansas played tonight, if they duplicate that, they're going to get kicked in. But they are better, but they've been better on the road in league play than they have at home. So I don't know what to expect here. But if you get one of those, you'd have to just completely collapse in the last 5 games coming back home after this 2-game road swing to not make the NCAA tournament. But if Arkansas goes 0-2, they're fine. They've still got 5 games to win 3, with 3 of those at home and only 2 on the road. One of those is South Carolina, a team that plays everybody close at home just about, but can't find a way to win. Vanderbilt's not going to be easy. That would be an impressive quad one win for Arkansas on the road. Missouri will be a quad one opportunity at home, ranked 22nd net. Missouri likely not going to fall outside the top 30 the way the season's going. Coming down the stretch, it's a chance of that. But as long as that team stays 30th or better, that's going to be a quad one result, win or lose. Texas again at home is obviously winnable. You never know with this team the way it plays at home, though. That's the one thing with this Arkansas team. I mean, this is a bad LSU team, and Arkansas is like, oh, you're bad. We're bad too. It's almost like they want to prove they can play to your level. I know I'm being a little sarcastic there. It was frustrating for a while for those that have seen Arkansas just inching closer to getting over the hump. You had that heartbreaking opportunity against Bama after being down 18, and you wanted to see this team take the next step. So in a way it did, because winning is all that matters at the end of the day. But the way that they played, you're scratching your head a little bit still, because you're like, how many quality teams in this league would Arkansas have beaten tonight on its home court? A more quality team. I mean, I didn't take away from this any more comfort that Arkansas could beat an OU if they played them again, and because their OU's better than LSU. Everything's relative, right? Or a Vanderbilt, had you had to play Vanderbilt at home. And again, we mentioned some of the teams coming up, Missouri, even Texas again. I wouldn't assume you're going to beat Texas at home. Texas, beat OU at OU. I know Arkansas, what they did on the road, but this league is funny. All the teams are good, even the ones that don't have good records, except for LSU. LSU has really good athletes. It's not the greatest matchup for Arkansas because they get into you defensively. Arkansas doesn't have a ton of skill guys. Arkansas doesn't work with a surgeon's precision. And so LSU can junk it up, clutter it up, and Arkansas just kind of played down to it for the longest stretch. But I am impressed with the fact that Arkansas at least didn't have to rely on the final possession or two to either win or figure out if it's going to win or lose. That's the one thing. Arkansas finished the right way, went in by 12. Got to give them credit for that. And so we talked about the two road games, A&M, Auburn, then Missouri and Texas. Then again, it's South Carolina, Vandy. Vandy's been ranked. Vandy's a good team. Vandy's upset some teams this year. Kentucky being one of those. And then, you go, I think Tennessee was the other one. And then you're back home for Mississippi State, which is a really good team, a team that's still ranked, a team that's right on the nose, number 30 right now, number 30 in net. So Mississippi State. So that would be if Mississippi State's still 30th or better when the dust settles, that'll be a quad one result at home. So Arkansas's, by winning 3 more games, you hope that at least a couple of those are quad ones. And who's to say they have to stop at winning only 3 more? Maybe there's a path where Arkansas can get 4 of the last 7. If Arkansas does that, they are a bona fide lock to get in. I think 3 more probably does it. 4 more, it's over. It doesn't matter what they do, what happens in the SEC tournament. And I think that's probably true of 3 more, but we'll see. We'll see. I think 18-13, 7-11, that means you win 3 of these last 7. That would probably get you on the correct part of the bubble. And I don't know that you would need to do, I think at that point you might not need to do anything in the SEC tournament, but it also depends on what other bubble teams are doing. It's, in a sense, it's good for Arkansas in this midweek that they found a way to win. And some of the other teams that were just a little ahead of them on the bubble lost games. Wake Forest, another bubble team, lost a game tonight against Florida State. That's not going to be great. BYU, another bubble team, got a big road win at West Virginia last night. So, BYU is probably the big winner compared to some of these other bubble teams for going on the road and beating a decent team in West Virginia. Whereas Arkansas, expected to beat LSU at home. Again, I don't think there's a lot of net value in this one, other than you didn't suffer in the net by losing it. So it was one of those must not lose situations. We went through some of the individual stats for the Hogs. Z, Nelly, Wagner, they were your 3 double figure scores. Adu Thero tonight, 6 points, 2 of 8 from the field, 2 of 4 at the free throw line. He did have 7 rebounds and I think 3 assists and only 1 turnover in 27 minutes. And his impact on the floor, even though he didn't show up in the box score tonight with scoring, Arkansas really probably could have used a better game from him there. It didn't matter in the end, but a box score plus 11 nonetheless. When he's on the floor, good things typically happen. Carter Knox, again, 9 points, 4 of 5 from the field, 1 of 2 from three. Hit a big three that gave Arkansas a 2-point lead. LSU calls a timeout, hits a three to go into halftime up a point. But a good shooting game for Knox, other than those missed 2 free throws. 8 big rebounds for him. So this was the one guy that really showed up on the boards with Adu Thero was Carter Knox. 1 block for Carter tonight, a steal. He did have, I think he had 2 turnovers, but he played 33 minutes. That's become a common theme since Boogie's been out, not only starting but playing big minutes, and a box score plus 5. Billy Richmond, after having arguably his best game against Bama, 4 points on 2 of 4 from the field. He had 3 rebounds, 4 big assists. We've seen him as Arkansas's kind of secondary handler behind DJ Wagner. And I thought Billy was effective tonight, feeding the ball inside to Big Z. A lot of what Big Z did was inside. Obviously, he made 10 field goals, 10 of 13, 3 of 5 from 3. So 7 field goals inside the arc. And not only inside the arc, it's around the basket. And we talked about that Alabama game where he made 5 threes, but had at least 5 field goals, how aggressive he was getting to the basket, getting to the rim. And you saw more of that aggressiveness tonight from Big Z. But Billy Richmond did a good job, he and DJ in concert, setting him up and finding him. But 4 assists, 22 minutes for Billy tonight, 0 turnovers. And he's also a guy, no matter how many minutes he's playing, he has a positive impact on that box score. Box plus 11 from Billy Richmond. Not one bit surprised by that. All right, Trevor Brazile and Jonas Adu are still underperforming relative to expectations, but I will say this, there was more from them tonight relative to what they've been doing. 5 total points, no shocker there. You weren't expecting those guys to, out of the blue, come back and start scoring. 2 of 3 combined from the field, 1 of 2 at the foul line. Those were Brazile's free throw attempts. They combined for 9 rebounds, though, so Adu had 5 of those. So he popped up for 5 rebounds tonight. They also combined for 3 assists. Jonas Adu had 2 of those. They each had a blocked shot. Only 1 turnover between the 2 of them. Adu had a box score plus 6 in 11 minutes. So he played a little bit more because he's been playing 5, 8. I mean, he's just not been effective. You saw an interior pass to him again. I say this all the time. If you don't make a perfect pass to Jonas Adu, he's not going to collect it. The ball skipped out of bounds. It was a turnover. He doesn't move well. He doesn't react well to the ball. But tonight he made some good plays at moments. I mean, he had a field goal in this game around the basket. He had a blocked shot. I mentioned that. He got 5 rebounds and he had a couple of assists. So if for no other reason in a game like this, he gave you a little something. I mean, it's still a disappointment. Again, they combined Brazile and Adu 5 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, and only 1 turnover. That's better than what you've been getting from them. And when you put it together with what Z tonight, collectively, it's probably Arkansas's best game in a while from all 3 of its true 5, true frontline guys. We call Adu Thero a 3-4 jumbo wing. He's kind of a unique niche kind of player. He's not a post player. He's not really a big man. So when you look at but he's a frontline guy on this team. He's a small ball 4. But if you look at true big men types, even though Brazile doesn't really have a back to the basket game, still, when you look at those 3 collectively, it's probably the best game combined for all of them. Of course, Big Z really stood out tonight, other than a guy named Robert Miller III. Now, here's a guy for LSU at this point in the season, 16 points tonight, 8 of 13 from the field, 4 rebounds. Most of his damage was done just going at Big Z. And this guy was averaging 2.8 points per game on the season. It was his first double-figure scoring game of the season. His career high was 9 points coming into this one. And mostly, again, averaging 2.8 points per game. So Z struggled, he really struggled rebounding the ball. He looked similar to what he did in previous games before this stretch, where he's gotten better and better everywhere. I thought, at least against this matchup and the quicker players around him that weren't bashful about attacking the ball when he was trying to secure rebounds. He fumbled several that he should have gathered. So he struggled a little bit defensively and on the glass, and I think that really helped this LSU team. But either way, Z still was, you could argue he was the biggest impact on this win, because in a grind game like this, where the other team scored 58, you feel fortunate to get to 70, and he had 25 big ones on a very efficient night. So there was great and not so great with Big Z. I just tell it like it is. I'm not trying to be overly negative, but these are areas of that might still concern you moving forward, because it's still. Are we at a point now where we can call Arkansas a good team? I mean, that's debatable. That's debatable. The resume is borderline of being an NCAA tournament team. There's 68 teams that go in. We know several of those are teams that'll get automatic bids that aren't as good as Arkansas. But at the end of the day, if you're not good enough to get an at-large bid, you're not a good team. In Arkansas, it's questionable. They're still on the bubble. I don't know if these results tonight combined with OU, again, I'm assuming OU lost. I should have checked that before I came in here. They were getting pounded at Mizzou. It doesn't mean OU didn't come back and find a way to win. If they did, I've said some things incorrectly here. 36 minutes in. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNet YouTube Live. We're going to wrap this up here very shortly. I will say this, Carter, Cam Carter, who hit, I think, Arkansas for 26 points and 10 of 10 free throw shooting in the loss at LSU. 13 points tonight, of 4 of 15 from the field. He made both of his free throws. He was 3 of 7 for 3, so he was efficient there. But something that stood out to me, at the end of this game, Arkansas was minus 10 in second chance points, 16-6. 9 of those 16 points were on Cam Carter threes. All 3 of his makes came on second opportunities. Early in the game, Arkansas misses. There's an air ball goes up. Arkansas doesn't secure a defensive rebound. Ball kicks out to Carter wide open, knocks down a 3. Every 3 he made was a second chance shot. So it's little things like that when you look at this Arkansas team all year long and you're going, if they just do this, if they just zig when they need, if they wouldn't zig when they need to zag, or they zag when they need to zig, close out a strong defensive possession with a rebound. Otherwise, you find yourself in a situation like Arkansas was in for most of this game, playing for your life against a team that's not really very good. And it starts to make you think, well, then how good is Arkansas? So you got to clean some of this stuff up. Again, the good news is you won. I sound like I'm talking like a team that lost. No, that's not the point here. And then you we again taps back into that road magic. I think you can at least say, well, we'd be down if we lost this game. We didn't play our best, but we maybe can go and surprise A&M. Look, if you're basing it off Arkansas's performances in its previous 2 road games, why not, right? All right, so let's go through team stats real quick. I just dropped it. And then we're going to get into recruiting because I just got a little bit to share there. I know everybody wants to know what's going on with Nate Ament, the 5-star in the class of 2025. Kind of some interesting stuff going on since we last talked about it on Saturday. But this game, Arkansas finished up 28 of 54 overall from the field. That's 51.9%. That's positive. But most of that obviously came in the second half. Arkansas did a good job, I thought, in this game. We haven't even talked about it almost 40 minutes in, of not settling for threes and trying to generate free throws or generate close range shots. And if they don't score, then get to the foul line and generate free throws. But 15 of 25 from the field in the second half, 60%. So that helped Arkansas shooting in the mid-40s first half, 60% second half. And again, most of that was just attacking the basket and getting the ball to Big Z. He was effective, getting dunks off some really, an underneath the basket inbounds play, and just getting him sliding to the basket, getting him the ball where he could just go up and finish. But 28 of 54, again, 51.9% for the game. 4 of 12 from 3, 33%. Arkansas has been shooting more volume, shooting well from 3 in this last stretch of games. Tonight, who cares? You only took 12. Out of your 54 field goal attempts, you only took 12. So 42 shots on goal were inside the arc. Most of them, again, around the basket. Only 12 three-point attempts. 4 of 12, I thought that was great. 10 of 17 at the line, not good. But on the other end, you didn't foul and put LSU at the line. 3 of 6 after letting that team shoot 28 free throws down in Baton Rouge and they made 26, so shot their brains out to win that game. Way above the Rose, way above their station in that one. but 3 of 6 tonight for 50% for LSU, 5 of 20 from 3. So even though the Tigers made 1 more than Arkansas, they took 8 more. And in a game where LSU can make it ugly and maybe generate free throws like they did at home, you start eliminating your opportunities to do that when you're taking a lot of 3. So not a good 3-point shooting team coming in. 5 of 20, 25%. Their percentage was even worse in Arkansas, even though they made 1 more. 25 of 64 overall for LSU, 39.1%. So percentage-wise, Arkansas's defense did the job. It just goes back to the blue-collar hustle plays, keeping them off the offensive glass. The turnover battle again, first half, really helped LSU stay in the game and have a 1-point lead. But overall rebounds, Arkansas plus 6 there, 39-33. But offensive rebounds, plus 3 for LSU, 10-7. Second chance points again. This is where LSU really stayed in this game, plus 10, 16-6. Arkansas ends up 1 turnover better, 9-8. I'm so terrible reading the comments. Sorry about that. But thank you for commenting. Turnovers, Arkansas plus 1. They're 9-8 after being -2 at halftime, 5-3. This is a team, again, that's turned the ball over 14 times a game. Arkansas ends up forcing 6 in the second half, only 3 in the first half, 9-8. So Hogs only turn it over 8 times. That's good. Points off turnovers, LSU 8-7, plus 1. But guess what? They were plus 4 at halftime, 4-0. So Arkansas basically evened things up there. Points in the paint, Arkansas was -4 at halftime. The Hogs finished plus 4, 40-36. What did we talk about? Arkansas made it a priority of getting the ball inside the Big Z and took even fewer second half threes. They had 7 attempts at halftime, only 5 in the second half. 40-36 plus 4 points in the paint. Arkansas in fast break, each team only had 2 fast break points in this first half. Arkansas plus 3 to finish the game, 7-4. Bench scoring, this is a problem again. Alabama was plus 20, 31-11 in the last game. Tonight, LSU 30-9, plus 21, and it was a similar number, 30-9. So we know, again, we went back to Brazil and Adu. You're just not getting much scoring from them. You did get other things tonight and more from Adu than we've seen in a while, but not points. And so Billy Richmond gave you 4, the previous game 9. You're just not getting a whole lot off your bench there. And Richmond, you don't expect to be a big scorer. He's playing well. It's not like he's doing something wrong. It's that Arkansas is a one-trick pony offensively now on its front line, and that's Big Z. But steals, Arkansas, I think each team had 5 the way I wrote this down. I might have missed something there. Arkansas dominated blocks 7-2. Again, Big Z had 4 of those. And then assist, Arkansas plus 4 there, 17-13. Great win even when playing sloppy. I don't know, and I kind of dwelled on a lot of the negative stuff. At the end of the day, that's right. I mean, Arkansas, you've got to, even in football, we talk about teams where they don't maybe always win the big games, or they'll win one and maybe disappoint you in 2 or 3 other ones. But the teams that win the games they're supposed to are the ones that have better seasons. It's not always those flashy wins. It's the ones where you just took care of business when you were supposed to. And we've seen seasons where teams don't do that, and they win 2 or 3 big games, and then you're scratching your head because they throw away games they should have won. Arkansas, at least at minimum, whatever you say about this team, has not lost a game like that. It's not lost a game where it would be a bad loss. And so that's part of what's good about this resume. It's so weird. Arkansas taking its first double-digit lead against an SEC opponent at Bud Walton Arena tonight with about 5 minutes to go against this team. They trailed by 15 in both halves to Georgia. They trailed by 13 in the first half to Oklahoma. We know they trailed by 18 points with about 6.5 minutes to go against, granted, a Final Four kind of team in Bama, second ranked in the country, and going to be a 1 seed in the tournament. And then when you go back to even Ole Miss and Florida at home early in the conference season, you had early leads. I think against Ole Miss, a 9-point lead in the first half, very early, 7 or 8, maybe 9 against Florida, and then you fell behind. And in those games, you fell behind by double digits. So everybody that's played in that building in the SEC held a double-digit lead except Arkansas until tonight. LSU's the first league team to not have a double-digit lead, I believe, against the Hogs in that building, but they did have leads in both halves and led by a point at halftime. But Arkansas finally gets a double-digit lead against a league opponent. Remember, Arkansas's 2-4. They played 2/3 of their home games now in league play. And for it to happen now, I guess better late than never. But again, I go back to there's still more work to be done, and Arkansas is going to have to do some of that at home. I don't think you can get away with only winning 2 home games. That means you've got to continue to win more on the road if it's going to be that, and that you still, again, those quad 1 wins on the road, when you measure them up against some teams' quad 1 wins at home, some of that stuff weighs in your favor. And Arkansas's found a way to have a postseason worthy-esque resume on the border still, on the bubble, by what it's done on the road and away from home, not really what it's done at home. Remember, they didn't have any marquee games at home in non-conference. It was a load up of quad 3s and quad 4s, and even in those games, Arkansas would trail, sometimes at halftime, sometimes in the second half, and but found ways to win those. So again, a quality of a team that's trying to build a postseason resume is winning the games it's supposed to. And Arkansas, again, now 11-0 against quad 3 and quad 4. All right, 46 minutes in. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNet YouTube Live. My post-game analysis: Arkansas 70-58, 15-9 overall, 4-7 in the SEC. They've gone from 15th place in a 16-team league up to 11th, 1 game behind the next 2, Vanderbilt and Mississippi State. So Arkansas is trying to get to that middle part of the league, which, if you went back to what I was saying about this team when it was 11-2 going into league play, I said it doesn't look like a team that was preseason 16th and picked to finish 3rd or 4th in the league. It looks kind of like a middling SEC team, a team that maybe 9-9 would be a record you'd expect. Well, after starting 0-5, we were backpedaling on that. Right now at 4-7, 9-9's not out of the realm of possibility. I doubt that's likely. 8-10 feels like a ceiling for this team. And then 7-11's probably more in line with what's realistic. But again, if Arkansas goes on the road and splits A&M and Auburn, we have to then realign what we think, because then we're going to say, let's say Arkansas beats A&M on Saturday. I'm not predicting that, but why not? You've won your last 2 road games against quality teams. You go and do that, and now you're 5-7, but you have more home games to look forward to, and you've at least won by double digits at home, even though it wasn't a good team. Maybe there's something to build on there. So no one's saying Arkansas can only win 3 more. But realistically, I'm not sure this team can get to 9-9. Again, 8-10 feels like a ceiling right now. I can change my opinion based on what Arkansas continues to do. Tonight's performance-wise, not the result, performance-wise, makes me withdraw in terms of jumping out there with, if you smoked LSU by 30, this team lost by 31 points at home to Texas just a week or 2 ago. Had you smoked this team at home tonight, I'd have a little different tone about it. However, Arkansas, again, did what it had to do. All right, let's get into recruiting real quick. Nate Ament, the last time we talked about it was Saturday. And I've had a source, I've been talking about this for a while, really discussing an NBA-connected source that started asking me in December, when is Nate Ament coming to visit? Because I heard he's coming in for a home game. He's going to come when Arkansas basketball is hosting a home game. Remember, Arkansas had a lot of visitors in this 2025 class back in the fall during football season. They were coming in for football games. They've had a few since then, not as many in terms of, official visits, more like just unofficial guys putting their head in there to come attend a game. In fact, Muhammad Silla, who ended up committing to Georgia Tech, came on a Sunday during basketball season when there was no home game and was there briefly. Arkansas was going to Miami for a road game. Anyway, Nate Ament, so I've been hearing for a while, yeah, he's going to pick out a home game. Unlike the Caleb Wilson situation, I've never had information on when that might be. And then Caleb Wilson, we know 3 different dates came and went. He never made it, end up not even committing to who we thought the front runner was, probably Kentucky, ended up being North Carolina. Ament has taken multiple visits. Arkansas's in his final 11. We talked about it Saturday. I reached out to 2 different sources, one that's connected with what's going on with Kentucky. And remember, I said the Kentucky coaches had not confirmed at that point. That was early Saturday morning when we talked about it. had not confirmed for sure, haven't firmed up that Ament was coming in for that Tennessee game on Tuesday at Rupp Arena. Well, he ended up making his trip and making that visit. The same source told me at that time that he had the impression that Ament was trying to play an NIL numbers game with several teams to run it up. And what have I always said, and there's proof in the pudding with Calipari, I'm like, if Calipari thinks that's going on, he's only going to go so far with any given player based on his tight value range for that player, and he's not going to play that game. He didn't do it with Caleb Wilson. There were others during portal season. We went through those names. You're all aware of it. So we talked about that on Saturday morning. And then I had another source that just basically said the same thing as the one that's kind of connected to the Kentucky side of things. Both of them say they feel like this is a Duke-Louisville race with maybe Notre Dame as a dark horse, something I've also heard. But he's visited Notre Dame. He's visited Louisville. He's visited Duke. Now he's visited Kentucky. He even visited Texas a while back. I may be leaving someone out. Louisville, one of the teams thought to be in the finals there. Some of the Louisville fans, after he took the Texas visit, think maybe Louisville's out of it. Some people have thought Duke's the front runner all along. Is Kentucky really now a contender? Remember, when Kentucky didn't get Caleb Wilson, he went to North Carolina. Kentucky's kind of focused its sights on Ament. So the Kentucky fans and Big Blue Nation, some of the reporters talking about this Ament visit, they're all excited about the fact that Ament's been to 2 Kentucky-Tennessee games now, because when he was visiting Tennessee, Kentucky won at Tennessee. They swept them this year. So they think, well, there's no way he's going to Tennessee. I'm telling you, the results of those games have nothing to do with it. It's where he feels most comfortable and where the NIL feels most comfortable. He's a top 3 rated 5-star, 6'9" combo forward out of Virginia. So I said all of that to recap what we talked about Saturday morning. But on this visit, one of the beat writers, I think it was Travis Brandon, I think he's 247 Sports, put out one of his headlines was, this could be, and he thinks it's expected to be and likely to be, I'm paraphrasing, Ament's last visit, which is very interesting, because when I go back to my most 2 recent sources and what they were saying, there was no talk about Arkansas being in the mix at the end. There was no talk about, he might visit Arkansas. It was only my one NBA connected source back in December who started saying, I hear he wants to come in and attend an Arkansas game, and during basketball season, visit at that time. So the only thing that backs that up is the constant pursuit by the one who matters, the best recruiter of all time, John Calipari. Starting in September, when the current NCAA live period opened up, he made multiple trips out to Virginia to see Ament. And so I gave my update on Saturday morning. As of Sunday, after Arkansas loses at home Saturday at Bud Walton Arena to Bama in that heartbreaker, the next day, Calipari, it gets reported by On3 Sports, back on the road to Virginia to go see Nate Ament. So he's back out there again. Now, then the next developments, he does take the trip to Kentucky. You've got beat writers saying this is likely his last visit. I tweeted this out, and I believe this firmly. John Calipari's not going to see anybody as much as he has Ament. He wouldn't have gone Sunday if 2 things were true. If, 1, he thought he wasn't going to get him on campus for a visit, meaning there's interaction there with that player and his agent, who's driving a lot of things right now, especially the NIL wheels, in one of his NIL recent setups, where there's fan involvement for these teams recruiting him. It's interesting. But if not for Calipari, 1, thinking he's going to get this player on campus for a visit, and then with a real chance to close it, and 2, what have I said? And Calipari's proven it over and over again. If the one source is right, that this young man's just trying to drive up the NIL and gaming some of these teams, Calipari will only go so far until he feels like he's being used for that and is going to back out. He did it with Wilson. So by going to Virginia on Sunday, that tells me that Calipari hasn't gotten to that point where he sees it that way. He thinks he can get him on campus for a visit with a chance to close, and he doesn't see that he's at a point where Arkansas is being used to spin up NIL and take it beyond where he's willing to go with it. So those are significant things. So it doesn't matter if that's what the kid's doing until Calipari sees it that way, because he's going to continue to pursue it. See what I'm saying? So 2 things can be true at once. Maybe he is doing that, he and his camp, but until Calipari gets to a point where he feels that and doesn't want that, it's not real to him. And so in reality, there may be some middle ground. There may be something there where Calipari says, I really want this kid. I may be willing to go a little further with this and pursue it. Now, again, the talking points coming from these recruiting folks that are covering all this, they think maybe he's done with his visits. And if that's the case, Arkansas is obviously not in it. Being in a Final 11 doesn't have a lot of value if you're not even going to get a visit. But I go back again to Calipari persistently going out to see him, including on Sunday. I leave the door open that there's something that nobody knows yet, that this kid plans to visit Arkansas. Because I go back to the one source that says he got it from the camp, not from the Arkansas side, but from the kid's camp. But that was, of course, things change, but that was back in December when Arkansas was still playing non-conference games. Remember, we started talking about it. I was talking about during these segments that he wanted to come visit Arkansas and he wanted to do it for a game during when the basketball team's hosting a game. So we'll see that in combination with Calipari's continued pursuit. Maybe there's something underlying there where we get to a point where that does happen and it gets announced. And look, he's going to have to, he can make a decision anytime. He can't sign until the spring. So we'll see how long he drags this out, but there's time for him to visit if he wants to come to attend an Arkansas game. I checked on it today. I was told there would be no visitors in for this game tonight. There were no visitors in for Alabama on Saturday, but you got several more home games. I mentioned some of them. Missouri's on a Saturday. Texas is a midweek. Mississippi State, the final home game of the year in early March, will be tough. A lot of teams and players are in their, March gets a little tougher to get visitors in terms of scheduling. But Arkansas has another Saturday home game against Mississippi State. So there's 3 more home games. And then if for some reason he still wants to visit Arkansas and can't work it out during the end of this season here in these last few weeks, you can have him in at another time, I guess. Even though his goal, I was told, was he thinks he's going to come out for a game weekend. So we'll see where this goes. It very well may be that Arkansas is not going to get a visit. But I go back to Calipari. He has spent so much time in Virginia. He's gone so many times. And the fact that he was just there on Sunday leads me to believe something's in the works to get the young man on campus. So we'll see where that goes. Arkansas, as it stands, has a top 5 rated recruiting class. 3rd in one service, I think, no worse than 4th in most of them, maybe 5th in one. But, I mean, they've got a top 5 rated class, and it's a backcourt class. As you know, we'll say the names again. Darius Acuff Jr., 5-star guard, top 5 rated player. I think he moved up to 4th in one of the recruiting rankings. Malik Thomas, top 10 also. I think 7th in 1 or 2 of the recruiting ranking, so another 5-star. And then Isaiah Sealy, a top 80-ish, top 75-ish, 4-star out of Springdale, a 6, good length and height, though, for a combo guard wing at 6'7". But you go 6'2", 6'4", 6'7" there. So another batch of backcourt players, but highly rated class. I think Calipari, it's just obvious to me, we say it all the time, he wants to get at least 4. I think he would have taken 5 if Arkansas was willing to pony up the extra to go for Silla. I think they probably did the right thing. When I look at that price tag, they had him, and then Georgia Tech really stepped up, probably overspent there, and Arkansas did what it did in the portal recruiting season, stayed within its range of where it was going to go. I think that's smart because you're going to want to spread that money around for your roster come portal season. But Nate Ament as a 6'9", sharp shooting, great decision maker, really good passer, needs to add strength. A Michael Porter Jr. type of guy. When I look at him as a player comparison, I say all the time, but 6'9", it can shoot the way he does. I understand. I've seen him enough to know, he deserves to be rated 3rd or 4th in a loaded 2025 class. So you stay on that guy. We'll see where it goes. All right, nearly an hour in. I want to thank you for joining me on HogvilleNet YouTube Live. We're going to sign off now. It was our post game. The Razorbacks take care of business at home, 70-58 over LSU. The Hogs, again, 15-9, 4-7 in the SEC. That's 11th place. Doesn't sound great, but it's a lot better than 15th 2 or 3 weeks ago. And the Hogs are moving toward the middle. But they're also, we'll see if Lenardi, when he updates maybe tomorrow, he'll definitely put a bracketology full update on Friday morning. But he typically tweets out some updates through the week. We'll see if Arkansas's moved off that first team in the first 4 out up into actually being projected in. Maybe not. But that's okay because the loss was what you were keeping your eyes on. A loss tonight would have been brutal. Not the end of things, but it'd have been a a lot more work for Arkansas to do than where it is right now. And so now your resume stays clean. You're going to finish your regular season with no bad losses. Check that box. Check that away from home record. Check all that. Now Arkansas just needs a few more wins. I think 3 again. I'm going to repeat it one last time. 3 before the SEC tournament to feel good that you're in the correct part of the bubble going into that. And maybe you don't need to do any more. Win 4 more in these last 7, and Arkansas is a lock. Arkansas would get to 19-12 at that point to finish the regular season at 8-10 in the SEC, and it's a wrap. Doesn't matter what happens in the SEC tournament. All right, I truly am signing off now. Until next time, if we get Nate Ament, Arkansas Visit News, I'm going to break in. But probably the next time we come on is Saturday for a post-game. Arkansas and A&M tips off an early 11 a.m. tip in College Station. Until next time, thank you for being here. We'll see you then.